At 2:17 a.m., Clara lay awake, trapped in pain and loneliness, while her husband, Tyler, slept soundly. Once her joy, her twin pregnancy became a battlefield of exhaustion, betrayal, and heartbreak. From lipstick stains to cruel words, to the fall that brought premature labor, Clara's life unraveled. But in the darkest moment, a wrong call led to salvation, exposing Tyler's crimes and opening the door to resilience, love, and a new beginning. The digital clock on the nightstand coldly displayed 2:17 a.m. Its ghostly red glow was the only thing pushing back against the thick, almost tangible darkness of our bedroom. It was like the sleepless eye of a monster, silently witnessing my torment. Outside, the city of Boston was submerged in the heavy, almost sacred stillness of a November winter night. The snow had begun to fall at dusk, tentative at first, but had now become a thick, pristine white blanket, covering every rooftop, every street, silencing the last vestiges of the city's sounds. But that profound peace could not reach me. It was like a beautiful painting displayed behind a wall of bulletproof glass. Inside this third-floor apartment of our old brick building, a storm was raging, not of wind, but of pain and exhaustion. Beside me, my husband, Tyler, was snoring. It wasn't a soft, comforting snore. It was a deep, steady, self-satisfied rumble that emanated from deep within his chest, a sound of carelessness, of a man who had retreated into his own world, leaving me to face the darkness alone. He slept like a child, the sleep of a man with no worries, completely unaware of the battle being waged right beside him, only inches away. My battle. A silent war fought on the bed where we once shared our dreams, which had now become nothing more than a cold, desolate space separating two different worlds. I was in the 27th week of a twin pregnancy. The doctor, with the bright smile of an outsider, had called it a double miracle. But to me, in these endless nights, it felt more and more like a double curse. Sleep had become a foreign land, a hazy memory to which I had lost the map. Every small movement was a monumental effort, demanding the concentration and energy of an entire day. I tried to turn to my left, hoping to find a position that might relieve the pressure, and a sharp pain, like a hot blade, seared a path up my spine, from my hip to my shoulder blade. It forced me to hold my breath, my hands clenching the bedsheets. I tried turning to my right, and it felt as if two lead watermelons were crushing my internal organs, pressing them mercilessly against my ribcage. My stomach was stretched taut, the skin so thin that made me flinch, a sensation both uncomfortable and urgent. They never seemed to sleep either, constantly shifting and turning, transforming my womb into a chaotic dance floor, a wrestling ring with no final bell. "Come on, boys," I whispered into the darkness, my voice thin and lost against the backdrop of Tyler's snores. My hand unconsciously rubbed the drum-tight surface of my belly. "Please, just for a little while. Just let Mommy sleep for a bit." I wasn't asking. I was pleading. I was begging the unborn souls I loved more than my own life. The answer I received was a powerful somersault, a show of strength that forced a low groan from my lips. I gave up. Pushing myself up with my hands on the mattress, I slowly sat up, each movement deliberate, heavy, and carefully calculated. It felt like a cargo ship trying to dock in a hurricane. My breath came in short, shallow pants. My feet, swollen and aching as if I'd walked for miles on hot coals, touched the cold hardwood floor. I shivered, the chill creeping up from the soles of my feet to my spine. Shuffling out of the bedroom, I passed the large gilded mirror in the hallway, a piece of furniture Tyler had insisted on buying at an antique shop, saying it conveyed a sense of royalty. I glanced at my reflection and immediately regretted it. The woman in the mirror was a stranger, a heavy, lumbering silhouette with a puffy face and eyes so dark they looked like bruises. My blonde hair, the hair Tyler once ran his fingers through, saying it was like sunshine caught in silk, was now limp, lifeless, and hastily tied back. There was no trace of Clara, the confident, energetic girl with the radiant smile he had proposed to under the brilliant maple trees in the Boston Public Garden 2 years ago. I had disappeared, replaced by this tired, pained, and lonely creature. In the kitchen, I didn't turn on the main light, just the small one above the stove. Its weak, sallow glow cast shadows on the white cabinets, and the polished black granite countertops Tyler had insisted on when we moved in. "It projects success, babe," he had said, stroking its cold surface with an almost tender gesture. "We need to look successful." Now its glamour only made me feel empty and alienated. It was like a stage set for a play I no longer wanted to be in. I poured myself a glass of cold milk, hoping it would soothe the heartburn that burned my throat like acid. Leaning against the counter, I looked out the window to the silent street below. Large, soft snowflakes were falling quietly, dancing in the orange halos of the streetlights. The world outside was so beautiful, so serene, so perfect. But inside me, my mind was a chaotic jumble of thoughts, be a warm refuge or a prison with no escape. Tonight, my mind was a prison, and its bars were forged from broken promises. I remembered the day I found out I was pregnant. I had taken 3 tests, lining them up on the bathroom sink, just to be sure. When all 3 showed 2 bright, unmistakably pink lines, my heart hammered with a mixture of terror and absolute elation. I had waited for Tyler to come home from work, my heart pounding in my chest. I placed the most positive-looking test in a small Tiffany blue jewelry box, tied it with a white ribbon, and handed it to him the moment he walked through the door. "A present? What's the special occasion?" he'd asked, smiling that radiant smile that used to make me melt. "Just open it," I'd said, my voice trembling with anticipation. He opened it, stared at the test for a second, then looked up at me, his blue eyes wide, confusion slowly giving way to realization. "Clara, does this mean—" "Really?" he asked, his voice full of disbelief. I nodded, unable to speak, tears of joy welling in my eyes. And then, he let out a whoop of pure joy, a primal sound of exultation. He lifted me up and spun me around in our small living room, making me shriek with laughter. "I'm going to be a dad. Clara, I'm going to be a dad," he yelled, his laughter echoing, genuine and unfiltered. "A little Carter, a boy I can teach to play ball, someone who will look up to me." The focus on "I and a boy" should have been a warning bell. But at that moment, in the euphoria of it all, I dismissed it. I was in love with this ambitious man who always wanted to be the center of the universe. I naively assumed that I, and our child, would become the center of his. How wrong I was. The turning point came at 12 weeks, in a cold, dim ultrasound room that smelled faintly of antiseptic. I lay on the bed, my shirt pulled up, the cold gel on my stomach making me flinch. Tyler sat in the chair beside me, holding my hand, the excitement plain on his face. "All right, let's take a look," the technician, a middle-aged woman with a warm smile, said. She moved the transducer over my belly. A grainy black and white image appeared on the screen. "There, we have a strong heartbeat." A rapid, steady thump-thump-thump filled the room's silence. "Oh my God," I whispered, tears welling up again. "Tyler, do you hear that? That's our baby." "I hear him," he said, his voice full of awe, squeezing my hand, his eyes glued to the screen. "Hey there, champ." And, "Wait a minute," the technician said, moving the transducer. She squinted at the screen. "Oh, look at this. How interesting. There's another one, a completely separate heartbeat." She pointed to another flickering blob, also pulsing with a strong rhythm. "Double the joy." But his face had changed. His smile had frozen, as if flash-frozen. The color drained from his skin, leaving it pale and sickly. The hand holding mine went limp, cold. "2?" he stammered, his voice sounding as if someone had just punched him in the gut. The joy was gone, replaced by something that looked like horror. "Yes, absolutely certain," the doctor said cheerfully, oblivious to the sudden shift in the room's atmosphere. 2 placentas, 2 amniotic sacs. They're fraternal. A true miracle." How can we afford it?" Tyler said, his voice almost a desperate whisper, not to me, but to himself. 2 cribs, 2 car seats, double the tuition. My God, Clara, the cost will double. Everything. On the drive home, the silence in the car was so heavy I could feel it pressing down on me. I tried to break it. "Tyler, isn't it wonderful? 2 babies, an instant big family." "Wonderful?" He laughed, a bitter, sharp sound, his eyes still fixed on the road ahead. "Clara, are you being realistic at all? Do you have any idea what it costs to raise 1 child in Boston? Now double it. I just got my promotion. We were just getting on our feet. This is a financial disaster." "We'll manage," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Love is more important than money, isn't it?" He glanced at me, a cold, dismissive look. Love doesn't pay the bills, Clara. From that day on, an invisible wall was erected between us. His excitement evaporated completely, replaced by a simmering resentment and irritability, a thin layer of ice coating our every interaction. He started working later, drinking more, and talking less. He stopped touching me. The hugs, the hair stroking, the spontaneous kisses, they all vanished. A few weeks ago, as we were getting ready for his company party, the conversation that branded itself onto my mind took place. I stood in front of the bedroom mirror, struggling with the zipper of a navy blue maternity dress. I'd bought it because I thought it brought out the color of my eyes. I wanted to feel beautiful, just for one night. Tyler walked in, looking handsome and distant in his Armani suit. He was adjusting his tie. "God, you look like a beached whale," he said, without a hint of hesitation, as if commenting on the weather. I turned, feeling as if I'd been slapped. The air caught in my throat. "Tyler, how can you say that?" "What? It's just the truth," he shrugged, his eyes raking over me with a cold appraisal. "Look at yourself. Maybe you should wear something looser, like a tent. I don't want David thinking I've let my wife go." "David won't think that," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt, but ignored me. He introduced me perfunctorily to his boss, David Miller, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes. "David, this is my wife, Clara," he said quickly. "Clara, my boss." "It's a pleasure to meet you, Clara," David said with a genuine smile, extending his hand. "Tyler told me the good news. Congratulations. You must be thrilled." "Thank you," I said, trying to match his warmth with a smile of my own. In that instant, Tyler was already turning away. "I'm going to grab a drink," he said over his shoulder, not as a question. He quickly disappeared into the crowd, leaving me standing alone with David. I felt both monstrously large and completely invisible, and then I found the faint lipstick stain on his collar. It was a Tuesday night. He came home after a long work dinner. That night, when he finally arrived, I was waiting for him in the darkened living room, the only light spilling in from the street. The shirt was on my lap. "We need to talk, Tyler," I began, my voice frighteningly calm. "What is it now, Clara? I'm tired," he said, loosening his tie, not even looking at me. I held up the shirt from the couch. I switched on the table lamp beside me, the light illuminating the damning smudge of crimson. "What is this?" He glanced at it, then scoffed, a contemptuous sneer that made my stomach clench. "Oh, that? It's probably Brenda from accounting. She's a bit of a hugger after company parties. Don't be paranoid." "Paranoid? Tyler, you come home at 1 a.m. smelling of another woman's perfume with lipstick on your shirt, and you call me paranoid?" My voice began to shake. "Yes," he suddenly shouted, the abruptness of it making me flinch. "I'm out here working my ass off trying to make enough money to provide for the 2 extra mouths we're about to have, and you're sitting here in the dark interrogating me. Look at yourself. You've let yourself go. You're always tired, always complaining. You think a man wants to come home to that? You should be grateful I'm still here at all." He threw his jacket on a chair and stormed into the bedroom, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. I stood there, in the single pool of yellow light, trembling, his words echoing in my ears like a verdict. I was a burden. An ugly, nagging, paranoid wife. And a small, hateful part of me believed him. The worst part, the part that filled me with the most shame, wasn't his treatment, but the stupid, persistent sliver of hope inside me. A part of me still clung to the man who had spun me around the living room, still believed he was somewhere underneath this bitter, cruel shell. The night after the fight about the lipstick, I called my sister Sarah. She was 5 years older, a sharp, powerful lawyer in Chicago, and always my protector. I tried to keep my voice casual, upbeat. "Hey sis," I said, always cheerful and full of energy, a stark contrast to my muted world. "Everything's fine," I lied. The lie slid out with frightening ease. "Just tired, you know, twin pregnancy." "I know, kiddo, hang in there. Is Tyler taking good care of you? Is he rubbing your feet? I remember my husband had to do that every single night when I was pregnant with Tim." A pause. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. "Yeah, he's great. He's just been so busy. Things are stressful at work. He's trying for another promotion." Another lie to cover the first. Sarah hesitated. She was too smart to be fooled. "Are you sure everything's okay, Clara? You sound off, distant." My heart hammered. She knew. She could always tell when I was lying. This was my chance. An open door. "Say it, Clara. Tell her the truth." Tell her you're scared, and you're lonely, and the man you love is treating you like a burden. But the shame was a clamp around my throat. Admitting the failure of my marriage felt worse than living it. No, it's nothing, I said quickly, forcing a laugh. I'm probably just tired. I think I need to get to bed. I should go. Love you. Love you too, Sarah said, her voice still laced with doubt. If you need anything, you call me anytime. I'll be on the next flight. I know, thanks. I hung up, guilt and shame churning in my stomach like a wave of nausea. I'd been offered a lifeline, and I had cut the rope myself. I had chosen to stay in my prison. That night I slipped back into the bedroom, climbing onto the bed so gently as not to wake the sleeping monster beside me. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling, and placed both hands on my belly. I felt the soft, rhythmic kicks of my sons, and for the first time that day, a weak, genuine smile touched my lips. They were real. They were mine. They didn't judge. They simply were, and their existence was my reason for being. It's okay, I whispered again, this time not to them but to myself. Mommy's here. No matter what happens, I'll never leave you. I promise. And in that moment, in the midst of the despair, a seed of resolve took root. I might be lonely, but I wasn't weak. I might be hurt, but I wasn't broken. I was their mother, and that had to count for something. It was a dreary Tuesday afternoon in late December. The snow had melted, leaving behind a city that looked dirty and bleak. The nesting instinct had taken hold of me with a vengeance. I had an uncontrollable need to clean, to organize, to prepare everything perfectly for my son's arrival. My target for the day? Small thing yourself? Try to be useful, for God's sake. He said the word useful with a cruel emphasis, another twist of the knife, before slamming the door. Hurt and challenged, in a fit of blind determination, I dragged the wooden step stool into the living room. I'll show you useful, I muttered to myself. I climbed up, feeling my balance compromised by my enormous belly. As I stretched to wipe a stubborn smudge in the top corner, my foot slipped on the slick, varnished wood. The world tilted, a horrifying, weightless moment. Then a heavy, sickening thud as I landed hard on the hardwood floor. It wasn't a long fall, but I had landed on my hip and back. A sharp, blinding pain shot through my lower back. And then, a warm, wet sensation spread out beneath me. A flood. My water had broken. Panic set in, cold and sharp. I was only 35 weeks. It was too soon. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking. I called Tyler. Voicemail. Tyler, please pick up. I fell. My water broke. Please. I called again. Voicemail again. Desperate, my trembling finger scrolled through my contacts, and in my panic, I accidentally hit the name David Miller, the man I had spoken to only once. Hello? The deep, professional male voice answered immediately. For a split second, shame washed over me. What was I doing? But then another contraction ripped through me, clenching my abdomen like a vice, and I had no choice. My voice broke on a sob. David, it's Clara, Tyler's wife. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to call you, but my water just broke, and I can't reach Tyler. I fell. Please, I need help. There was no hesitation, no confusion in his voice, only calm authority. Clara, where are you? Are you still at home? Yes, I gasped, the pain making it hard to breathe. Okay, don't move. Just stay where you are. I'm on my way. I'm calling an ambulance as we speak. Clara, can you hear me? Where does it hurt? My back. My back hurts so much. Okay, just breathe deeply. Try to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. The paramedics will be there in minutes. I'm right here with you. Stay on the line. He talked to me the entire time, his voice steady and reassuring, an anchor that kept me from drowning in panic. Minutes later, I heard sirens, and then a frantic pounding on the door. David and the paramedics came in. He was in a business suit, but his face was etched with genuine concern. He quickly grabbed the hospital bag I had packed and left by the door. In the ambulance, a female paramedic held my hand. You're doing great. Is your husband meeting you at the hospital? I bit my lip to keep intensifying contractions. In the brief moments between the waves of pain, I still tried to text Tyler. My water broke. I'm at Mass General. The babies are coming. Tyler, please answer. I'm scared. Where are you? The screen remained blank. No reply. Only the cold blue check marks indicating delivered. 3 days later, I was discharged. Liam and Noah, my tiny, fragile angels, were stable in the incubators of the NICU. Tyler had never shown up. Not one call, not one text. My sister Sarah had taken a red-eye flight from Chicago that first night, and the look in her eyes when she saw me alone in the delivery room said it all. A mixture of boundless love, simmering fury at Tyler, and unconcealed heartbreak. The person who drove me and my sons home wasn't my husband. It was David. He had come to the hospital every day, bringing coffee for Sarah and asking about me and the boys with a quiet, genuine concern. "Sarah, you need a break," he had told my sister, his voice gentle but firm. "Let me take Clara and the boys home. I'll handle it." As we pulled into the apartment complex parking lot, I saw that the spot for Tyler's Ford F-150 pickup was empty. A cold feeling of dread slithered through me, but I tried to push it away. He must have parked somewhere else, I told myself. David helped me carry the 2 heavy car seats upstairs. I put my key in the lock, the door swung open, and my world fell apart. The apartment was eerily empty. The 70-inch flat-screen TV, the PlayStation 5, his collection of college football trophies, all gone. The walls where his pictures used to hang now showed faint, dusty outlines. "What is this?" I whispered, my voice gone. David set the car seats on the floor, his eyes quickly scanning the room, assessing the situation. "Clara, stay calm. Maybe it was a burglary." But I knew it wasn't. There were no signs of a break-in. Everything that was mine was still there. Only his things were gone. I walked like a sleepwalker into the bedroom. Tyler's side of the closet was bare, save for a few cheap wire hangers. His dresser drawers were pulled out, empty. And on his nightstand, where his wallet, watch, and keys used to be, there was only a single object, glinting cruelly in the daylight. His gold wedding band. I staggered back, bumping into the doorframe. Oh no, no, no. A choked sound escaped my throat. He was gone. He had abandoned us. David came to my side. He saw the ring, and his silence was more damning than any words could be. He didn't offer empty platitudes. He just gently placed a hand on my shoulder, a steady, grounding presence in the storm. "Clara, there's a note on the kitchen counter," David said, his voice low, pulling me from my stupor. "Really did. But I'm not father material. I wasn't made to be tied down by diapers and sleepless nights. You and your double miracle have ruined the life I was building. This isn't what I signed up for. Don't try to find me. My lawyer will be in touch about the divorce. I left the ring. You can sell it. Consider it a final payment. Tyler." The paper slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the floor like a dead leaf. I crumpled, and for the first time in days of holding it all in, I sobbed. Not quiet tears, but wrenching, painful, heartbroken sobs, the sound of a spirit shattering. David just quietly sat on the floor beside me, saying nothing, letting his presence be a silent comfort until Sarah rushed in and gathered me in her arms. A week later, on a Thursday night, as I was giving Noah a bottle in the dark living room, my phone rang. An unknown number. My heart leaped. "Hello? So that's how you play it?" Tyler's slurred, drunken voice came through the line, distorted and full of hate. "You conniving bitch." "Tyler? How dare you call me?" I hissed, a sudden surge of rage overwhelming my fear. "I'm calling to let you know I figured out your little game. You called Miller on purpose, didn't you? Staged the whole falling down the stairs drama just to get my boss, to make me look bad? You've probably been sleeping with him for ages. Those kids probably aren't even mine." The accusation, so vile and baseless, extinguished any last ember of hope or sadness I had for him. All that remained was ice. "You are a monster," I whispered, clutching Noah to my chest like a shield. "No, you listen to me." His voice turned venomous, the drunkenness seeming to give way to a malicious glee. "You ruined my career, got David to fire me. But you miscalculated, Clara. You know Project Nightingale, the biotech project I poured my life into?" My stomach twisted. It was the company's biggest project, something Tyler always said would make his career. He continued, his voice dripping with triumph. "Yeah, well, I copied all the data, every study, every formula, and I'm about to sell it to their biggest competitor, biogenetics. They're going to pay me a fortune. I'm going somewhere sunny. I'm going to live like a king, while you rot in that shithole apartment with your 2 bastards. Tyler, you can't. That's illegal. It's industrial espionage. They'll never prove a thing. I wiped my tracks clean. Oh, and by the way, the lease is up in 2 weeks. I already told the landlord we weren't renewing. Good luck on the streets, Clara. He hung up, leaving a dead, ringing silence. Everything all right? It's late. He answered immediately, his voice filled with concern. David, I said, and I was surprised at the steadiness of my own voice. You need to hear this. Tyler just called. He was drunk, and he said everything. Everything. What did he say? Project Nightingale. He said he copied everything. He's going to sell it to biogenetics. There was a dead silence on the other end of the line. I could hear him take a sharp intake of breath. Then his voice came, cold as steel. Are you sure, Clara? This is a very serious accusation. I'm positive. He bragged about it. He also said he was putting me and the boys on the street in 2 weeks when the lease is up. That son of a bitch, David ground out, and for the first time, I heard real fury in his voice. Okay, Clara, thank you. You did the right thing. You were very brave. Now, you are not to worry about a thing. Lock your doors. Stay with your sister. I will handle this. And he did. 3 days later, I was watching the news when Tyler's face appeared on the screen. He'd been arrested by the FBI at Logan Airport, trying to board a one-way flight to the Cayman Islands. The charge? Economic espionage. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. David arranged for a top-tier divorce and family lawyer for me. He also handled the housing situation. One day, he arrived with a folder. This is a lease for a new apartment in Brookline, he said. It's closer to a park, better for the boys. I've paid the first 3 months' rent. David, I can't take this, I said, stunned. You've done too much. Clara, this isn't charity, he said, his voice gentle but firm. The company owes you a great debt. You saved us from a disaster. Consider it a bonus, or an investment in your new start. You can pay me back when you're on your feet. I have faith in you. His faith, something I hadn't received from my own husband, gave me strength. I started up my freelance writing career again, which I'd abandoned when I married Tyler. I worked at night, while Liam and Noah slept, writing articles for magazines and blogs. Slowly, piece by piece, I began to rebuild my life. David was a constant presence, but a respectful one, never crossing a line. He'd stop by on weekends, bringing food and playing with the boys, showing them what a kind, dependable man looked like. He assembled the cribs Tyler never had. He patiently showed me faster ways to change a diaper, and he held one baby so I could take a 10-minute shower in peace. You look tired, he said one afternoon, seeing me yawn at my been so bruised and frozen, begin to feel warm again. A year can change everything. Our apartment in Brookline is filled with the sound of baby laughter and the tapping of my keyboard. Liam and Noah have grown into chubby, active toddlers. My writing career has flourished. 6 months ago, I wrote David a check for the full amount of his investment, plus interest. He looked at the check, then at me, and smiled. I told you, I had faith. Thank you, David, for everything. So, now that your debt is paid, he said, his voice a little hesitant, an endearing uncertainty in a man who was always so confident. Could I maybe take you to dinner? A real date? No diapers or baby food involved? I laughed, a real, full-bodied laugh that came from deep inside. I would love that. We are dating, slowly, carefully, but with so much promise. We are building something new on a foundation of respect and trust. Our little family now includes his daughter from his previous marriage, Emily, a lovely 8-year-old, on weekends. One evening, as we were all building a Lego tower on the living room floor, Emily turned to me. Clara, she said, can I call you Mama Clara? Tears welling in my eyes, I pulled her into a hug. Of course, sweetie. I looked over Emily's shoulder at David, and he was smiling at me, a smile that held everything we had been through and everything that was yet to come. I no longer wake up at 2:17 a.m. in torment. Instead, I wake up at 6 a.m. to the sound of 2 little boys giggling and demanding milk. The darkness has given way to the dawn. I often think back to that terrifying night, to the fall, and to my trembling finger slipping on my phone's screen. It wasn't just a wrong number, it was a subconscious choice. It was the moment I stopped suffering in silence and reached out. It was the moment I chose to fight. I saved myself, with the help of a kind man who happened to pick up the phone. And that's a lesson I will teach my sons. That in the darkest of times, the courage to speak up, to ask for help, is not a sign of weakness, but the most powerful act of all. The nocturne of my broken heart had ended, giving way to a new symphony, one of resilience, hope, and a love found in the ashes.